Latro, he did. Oh my goodness. Evening, sir. And everybody else that popped in and out while we were getting ready. Yeah, I just figured I'd drag a little bit tonight. What's up? How you doing, Latro? Are you hanging in there? Been a casual, busy week for me, so it's going to be another busy day tomorrow morning real quick. Well, hi, Kyle. Mr. Snyder, how you doing? What's up? How's the Big Island? Good to see you. And how you doing? And are you having a good weekend so far? I'm going to do an old Halloween one. I think I've done it before, but I figured to get us in the Halloween spirit. Hot and humid. Well, it's kind of nice here right now, so you'd be happy here at the moment. It is 52 degrees. Cloudy night. There he is. There's Latro. So the Bigfoot intimidated the whole Bigfoot expedition camp. That's pretty well. Were you speaking about something that actually happened, or were you just being silly? Weekend's been good. What time is it? Here it is 12 o'clock. Well, 6 after 12. So, what would it be there? You're still riding the evening, right? I don't know how many hours you're behind. I know 3. It's 6:05. Yeah, okay. I was going to say you had to be heading into the evening. I know after Colorado's 3 hours behind, so sounds about right. So you're just settling in for the night. I put a flame like LED bulb at the front door, but it's blue. I did that once. I got one of those that flicker, and it did it for like 3 nights, and then it just stopped. 6 hours difference. Okay, that sounds about right. I don't know. I kind of get lost. All I remember is when I went to Japan, I slept most of the way, so I was all discomfited on time. I know they were like, what, 9 hours, almost a day behind or something like that. I was only 12, so yeah. So how's everybody else doing tonight? And all hanging out. Make sure you hit that thumbs up. That's all I ask. Leave a comment if you dare. Other than that, hanging out, just enjoying the Saturday. Been run all day. Trying to get this and that done. 3 hours difference from Cali to 6 hour difference from sis in Ohio. That's right. You have a sis in Ohio. I think you told us that before. I'm in Ohio. Central Ohio, in fact. Right in the middle. So. Yeah, I've heard that, Latro. I've heard that. $15 milligrams a day. Quite a bit, actually. Right? Let me check and make sure I got this ready to go. Yeah. Wrap this up. Okay, there we go. Did you guys hear that? I don't know how. I'm not sure what I got my speaker kind of close to my camera. To Huber Heights, up north, huh? Up around Cleveland, if I remember right. Right? Sounds familiar. Yeah, isn't that up around Cleveland? Correct me if I'm wrong. Play on the east, west side? Can't remember. Does that sound familiar? Dayton. Okay. That's where it sounds familiar. I know I knew it. It's been a while since I've been to Dayton. I've been through Dayton a couple times, but I haven't stayed long enough. We used to go there and drink all the time when we were young. Go see the shows. Come back and see the shows here the following weekend. Go back and forth. Especially. We'll fix you. Actually, I have idea. I keep it around the house. But at Dayton. I wanted to go to the air show, but man, the tickets this year were just too nuts. A little pricey for me this year. Miss Daytona, the graduate area in blue. Well, what do you do? So, Kai, how's your weather been? Have you been lucky with the kind of the hurricanes too, haven't you? A couple of rough goes there, but nothing major, right? That's true. That's wild. I-80s major, nothing major. Yeah, I was going to say, you guys have been pretty lucky. They've seemed to be swinging around, and every time they seem to get it going, they always get pushed the other way. Yeah, I don't think you do, and I don't think we do either. Because actually, we're still in hurricane season too, for a little bit longer. A couple close calls, but they always get pushed. All these lows that keep coming through keep screwing with everything, which is good. Oh, I know. Yeah, you guys are still pretty toasty there, Latro. They just been actually Florida hasn't been really that bad. They just been getting a ton of rain. Was what they've been getting is what those tropical storms. They've been getting tropical storms. What's getting them? Now I guess there might be a chance either sometime this week or something if it forms. But they still don't. They still think with the lows that keep coming down out of the north and the low that helps that thing get going, they keep pushing them out toward Bermuda. And then all we get is a bunch of, well, all the East Coast get is a bunch of freaking rain. That's like the one's going to hit. It's supposed to be getting ready to go up the coast now. It's going to be, I guess, the East Coast, like from Florida all the way up to North Carolina, is going to get like tropical rains and high winds. And then by tomorrow night, Monday, it will all move up into New Jersey and the island. Staten Island. And it looks like it's going to be really windy. They were saying they were putting wind warnings out and everything. I guess it's going to get kind of rough. Probably a ton of rain, too. But Florida, I mean, we've been real lucky. It's just the rain from all along the East Coast, and it's been the big thing right now. We're dry. I mean, usually we get whatever comes up through Florida, and then it goes back east again. We ain't getting none of that. The same thing with Texas. All that stuff that comes out of Texas, it either goes north of us, northwest of us, or goes underneath us. Yes, it is. You didn't know that when you went there? Yeah, that's what it is. It's nice there, though, from what I hear. I've never been. a lot of lost airplanes out there. I don't know if I could live out there in the middle of the Bermuda Triangle, but you never know. Excuse me. I am sipping on a cup of coffee, believe it or not. I get down here, I got a couple things to do before I go to bed, like always. But yeah, I think I'm going to get ready to start this. This one is Black Eyed Kid Encounters that happened on Halloween. It's about 33 minutes. It probably won't be a full 33 minutes. How you should cut the ending off. Bermuda's British traffic cops usually wear Bermuda shorts. Pink. Killing me, man. Now, let me get this started. I'm sitting in the dark because of my dark screen. She's looking good here. I was at her house when she recorded this, if I remember right. This is when I was there visiting to do the book signing with her. Okie dokies, here we go. I was set. Let's get it going. And I am going to leave my mic on for off and on in case people come in. Okay, that's the one. And here we go. Guys, sit back, relax. Gemma's looking mighty good in this one, as you can see. Let me make sure it's ready to go. How come it didn't share? Huh. How come I can't see it? All right. That was weird. Done. And share. Okay. Big. Switch over. Make sure she's good. I'm going to move my C up to the bottom of the screen. And everything looks good. Let me get her going here.
My channel, and if you're new here, just welcome. My name is Gemma Jade, but today we are going to be discussing creepy encounters with the BEK on or near Halloween. Now, this was supposed to be my Halloween video, but it didn't quite work out. When you're going through a separation from someone you've been with for 8 years, it's a lot. I did get my background today. I'm starting to get a lot more of my stuff brought here to the new house. So keep being patient with me. I really appreciate you guys, and I'll get it all figured out. Regardless of what otherworldly and paranormal phenomenon we are discussing, there is no doubt that in the month of October especially, everything takes on an even more dark and sinister form. It's the thinning of the veil all month long until by the 31st, or on Halloween, Samhain, it's non-existent for 24 hours. Not many people know, though, that in the beginning of November, there is just as much thinning to and of it. What I mean is, the veil thins slowly and steadily throughout the month, so why does everyone just assume it snaps closed all at once on November 1st? It doesn't. It takes time, guys. The BEK are a fascinating topic of discussion, especially for this time of year, because no one has ever claimed yet to know for sure what they are, where they come from, or what it is that they want. It's a complete and total mystery, as are so many things we discuss here on this channel. With this being one of the few things I know of that I haven't ever experienced, and trust me, I want to keep it that way, but I'll be writing that book next, so I don't know. I'll keep you guys posted on whether or not I have an encounter. It fascinates me all the more and drives me to almost incessantly research them. I have come to understand that, for whatever reason, they seem to be very active on Halloween night and in the days before and after. And in fact, I found several people who have claimed to have encountered them on October 31st specifically, or again, within a few days. Could that be nothing more than mere coincidence? Well, you guys know what my answer is going to be on that one. So in case you haven't seen any of my other videos and have absolutely no idea what the BEK are, aside from leaving links to those videos in the description box for your viewing pleasure, let's just discuss, very briefly, an overview of what exactly we're dealing with here and some of what we know so far, which honestly talking about what we know definitively isn't much at all. The BEK are generally entities who appear to range between the ages of 5 and 17. There have been some alleged encounters with black-eyed adults, but those are very iffy in my opinion, and I want to focus on the creepy kids for now. So from far away or in the dark, these kids appear to be somewhat normal despite some pretty obvious things that stick out as weird or just wrong somehow. Once you're able to get a closer look, for example, when you go against every natural and primal instinct you are already having from behind your closed door and open it, they have abnormally pale skin. They are usually dressed one of two ways, either in the fashion of the times or in clothing that is completely, and again, quite obviously, outdated. Also, regardless of what time period their clothing is from, it's almost always very much like raggedy, in rags. The hoodies are torn and the jeans tattered with holes in the shoes and things like that. They look like a bunch of sickly, pale little ragamuffins. Sometimes there will be a group of them, but this usually only happens when they're encountered like in a parking lot or on the side of the road somewhere. When they come to your front door, there aren't usually more than 3, almost always 2, and every once in a while there will be one lone child there. Eventually, the witness will notice the all black eyes. Completely black and commonly described as, quote, as black as an abyss, end quote, and, quote, soulless, end quote. While their behavior varies very much, there are some common themes to the encounters. They seem to appear out of thin air and approach vehicles you're in and knock on the windows. If they come to your front door, they always knock as though they have no idea what a doorbell is. Also, it's not uncommon for them to start knocking and banging on the windows if you refuse the request, which is always that they be invited or allowed to enter your home or aforementioned vehicle. They will ask for a ride in those cases, and when you refuse, you will be terrified to your very soul and know somewhere and somehow deep inside the core of your being that something is wrong. They will become angry, they will become aggressive. One will undoubtedly be the spokesperson while the others awkwardly stand there and don't say anything. Aside from, of course, the telepathic communication that obviously is taking place between them during the entire exchange with you. If it's your residence they come knocking at, they will claim to have had some kind of emergency. Either they're freezing and need to keep warm until their parents come, or the younger of the two will have a potty emergency if you don't let him or her in to use your toilet. So basically, my little brother really needs to use your toilet, sir. Please, it's an emergency. Another of their ruses is to ask if they can use your phone to call their parents. They will claim all manner of reasons for needing to do this. It's usually about this point when the witness will start to feel an overwhelming sense of fear and dread, more so than the inevitable feelings of terror and doom they feel before the child even approaches their home. It's like you can feel them coming. I've seen witnesses discuss just laying on the couch watching television, and all of a sudden they're like, the hair on the back of their neck standing up, they feel sick to their stomach somehow, and then they get a knock at the door. That's their body telling them that the energy around them is wrong. These kids are wrong. So there is a sense of evil and menace that emanates from them, and most human beings only feel this instinctually and don't understand why the very sight of some kids is making them feel this way. There is an overwhelming urge to slam the door in their faces and run and hide somewhere far away from the door. It seems as though, and there have been encounters where one of the BEK have stated this as a fact, they cannot come into your car or home or personal space without an invitation. There have only been a few reports of people who have let them in, and I'm skeptical of all but one, and I've already covered that one in another video. So lock up your doors and windows and go hide in your closet until sunrise, folks, because today we are going to hear some encounters with the black-eyed kids that have been had on, near, or around Halloween. Let's jump right in. There is always this notion that the stories of these quote-unquote children started happening in the late 1990s with the release of Brian Bethel's Encounter. He was in a parking lot in Abilene, Texas when he had his chilling experience, and being an investigative journalist, he went to the internet when it was still brand new and brought the encounter to the World Wide Web. However, if we look back far enough, we will see that encounters with these entities probably go all the way back to the beginning of time. There is also the false assumption made that they are nothing more than a mere urban legend. However, that isn't true, because an urban legend is a story that happened to someone somewhere, and there are no witnesses ever to the event except your uncle's, nephew's, brother's, cousin's friend. There are more witnesses to this phenomenon than one can count, and many are available to give interviews. Maybe they're more like folklore, but I prefer to call things as I see them, and they are an unknown, lower vibrational, possibly pure evil and even demonic or even extraterrestrial entity that scare the crap out of us and that we basically know nothing at all about. At least nothing that can be proven or definitive anyway. Our first encounter takes place a day or two before Halloween and comes from Portland, Oregon in the United States. A man said that his neighbor hadn't put out any decorations, and usually his house had the most of anyone in their entire neighborhood. Since Halloween was a day or two away, our witness claims he jokingly told the neighbor he had better get a move on putting up his decorations or he wouldn't be finished by Halloween night. The neighbor looked at him with an absolute look of horror on his face and, in a somewhat conspiratorial whisper, replied that he would not only be keeping his house dark that Halloween, but also that he was never decorating or celebrating Halloween ever again. He attributed this to something terrifying that he claimed happened to him the year before on Halloween night. When our witness asked him what had happened, his neighbor explained to him that the previous year on Halloween night, he had heard a knock at his door. Though it was much later than usual and the kids were banging on the door instead of ringing the doorbell, he decided that since he hadn't turned off his lights yet, he would go and answer the door and make these his last trick-or-treaters of the night. He just assumed, and rightfully so, that that's who it was doing the knocking. When he opened the door, however, he saw that there were two kids just standing there, staring at the ground, not wearing any sort of costume that he could make out. He claimed the neighbor said the kids' eyes were, quote, as black as obsidian, end quote. Our witness goes on to explain, quote, he said one was probably around 13 to 14 and the other around 16 to 17, both boys. They weren't dressed up, but he remembers the older one was wearing a flannel checkered shirt. He was immediately overcome with uneasiness, like opening the door was a huge mistake. They just stared at him and he noticed they had really big irises and dilated pupils. He couldn't even see the whites of their eyes, so he figured they were contact lenses. He was frozen there holding the candy bowl like he couldn't slam the door in their face as much as he wanted to. So he nervously tried to smile at them, hoping they would quote unquote break character and ask for candy or something. The younger one said they had gotten lost and needed to come in and use his phone. That was when he closed the door more than halfway on them and said, no, sorry. And the older one said something like, can we just wait in your house till our parents come and get us? But by then he was convinced that his life was in danger and that these kids must be high on something or intending to rob him. So he just kept mumbling under his breath, no, sorry, good night, as he inched the door closed and finally locked it. He told me he was so effing scared at that point that they were going to try to break through one of the windows or something, but he looked through the peephole and they had turned to leave. He watched TV with his volume really low for the rest of the night so he could hear any sounds at all, and he said he stayed up till like 5 a.m. because he was too scared to go to bed and to drop his guard. The whole time he's telling me this, I'm thinking, oh my God, this sounds so familiar, just like the Black-Eyed Kids urban legend. Then I thought, hey, maybe this dude is trying to scare me because after all, he does have the Halloween spirit. So I'm looking at him incredulously, but trying not to seem too gullible. So I'm like, man, that is really crazy. Sounds like the Black-Eyed Kids. He just looked at me blankly. The what? Is that a movie or something? I said no, but told him to go and look it up online. Like an hour later, I get a knock on my door and admittedly almost jump out of my skin thinking it's one of these demon children. It was my neighbor and his eyes were freaking huge. He swears to me up and down that he had never heard of the BEK before and it's so similar to what had happened to him. So we talked a while longer and I told him that quite a few people probably know about the urban legend and it's possible it was just teenagers with black scleral contacts trying to freak people out on Halloween, which would be genius, by the way. But he said the fear he felt was so primal and came over him the second he opened the door for them. Anyways, guys, beware, I guess. Halloween would definitely be the perfect cover for them, end quote. What an absolutely an alarming, terrifying thought. The Black-Eyed Kids hiding under the perfect cover of Halloween, using our very own traditions and fun times against us. I noticed the man who actually encountered them didn't feel any of the normal foreboding before opening the door, and in fact, he did so without so much as a second thought. Could this be because it was Halloween? And I mean, on Halloween, we're always, even if in some small way, looking for a good scare. I don't know. Another person from Reddit claims that she also had an encounter with the BEK on Halloween night. Our witness claimed to have never even heard of this phenomenon before she witnessed them firsthand. She reported having noticed how slow the night was as far as trick-or-treaters were concerned. According to her, her doorbell almost never stopped ringing in all of the years she had lived in this particular residence on Halloween night. Her husband went to go and take a shower at around 10 p.m. and she then took her dog, Chloe, out into the front yard. As she was getting ready to do this though, she heard a knock at her front door. She immediately thought this was strange because they had a doorbell, and she knew it worked because it had been ringing when the last trick-or-treaters had come throughout the evening on the same night. She too, just as the guy in our last encounter did, thought it was just kids who were out a bit late and who didn't want the fun of the night to end. However, she saw her dog behaving very strangely right as a feeling of dread and terror slowly crept into her. It was out of character for either one of those dogs not to be barking and jumping and wagging their tails at the door, regardless of if someone had knocked or if someone had rang the bell. They were dogs, and they were friendly, and they loved when company was over. However, they were now cowering in one corner of the room and almost moaning as though they were in some sort of physical pain and or overcome by fear. She looked out the peephole of her front door and saw a dark outline of two young children. The only light at this point was her porch light, so she couldn't make out much more than that. Beyond that. It didn't escape her notice that the kids were simply wearing regular clothes instead of Halloween costumes, and this elicited a fear and dread in her that made no sense to her. She also considered they were seemingly very young to have been out so late and all by themselves, regardless of if it was Halloween or not. The girls seemed to be around 11 or 12 years old, and the boys seemed younger, like around 8 or 9, she said. She stated of the encounter, quote, "The girl very politely spoke up. 'Ma'am, can we please come inside and use your phone to call our mom?' As she spoke, something in the pit of my stomach was telling me something was wrong. What kid, even at that age, doesn't have a cell phone of their own these days? I couldn't remember the last time I had anyone ask to use my home phone. Hun, don't you have a phone of your own you can call your mom on?" I asked. This was when things got really weird. Both kids turned to look at one another like they were going to say something to one another, but neither spoke. They both turned back to me and the girl said, "Ma'am, my cell phone battery doesn't have any of its charge left in it. Can we please come inside and call our mother? We're alone out here and my brother's scared." I have to admit, there were two competing feelings going on inside of me. The first, that of a mother's heart that wanted to help these two small children get to their mom. The other, a sinking fear in my gut that was keeping the other feeling at bay. It was then I noticed that during the short conversation, I'd already opened the door a few extra inches, which I was completely unaware of doing. I stopped. "Honey, why don't you give me your mother's number and I'll go call her for you myself." Another pause and they again looked at one another. After a short moment, they turned back to me and the girl said, "Ma'am, my little brother has to use your bathroom. Can we please come inside while you call our mom yourself?" And with that last statement, the little girl moved closer to the door like she was just going to walk on in right past me. As she did, she stepped into the light coming from inside the house, and I got my first real good look at her. Solid, jet black eyes. That's all I could see. I could feel every hair on my arms and back of my neck standing at attention. I closed the door to where just my face was able to stick out. The little girl stopped and again pleaded, "Please, ma'am, we're both really scared and alone out here. We have to come inside. Please help us." Then, almost as if it was on cue, both kids began to whimper and cry. That's when fear completely took over and I shut and locked the door. "I'll call your mom if you give me the number," I shouted through the door, "but I'm not letting you into my house." I could still see them standing there on the porch, just staring at me through the beveled glass pane. Part of me wanted to run upstairs to my husband, but the bigger part didn't want to lose track of where they were. That would have freaked me out even more to not know where they were. After what seemed like forever, but probably was only a few seconds, I decided I'd call my neighbor that lives across the street. As I made my way to the side table by our couch to my phone, I glanced at the back door. Chloe was nowhere to be found. We later found her in the guest room under the bed. When I got to my phone and started to look for his contact info, it was only then the kids stepped away from the door and began to walk to the street. As they did, I walked to the door to get a better look to see where they went, still not calling my neighbor. If you get close enough to the glass, you can see out enough to make out people's shapes, but not much detail. Of course, standing that close to the door would make you pretty obvious to anyone outside looking in. From the door, I could see that the kids were still standing under the street lamp nearest my house, staring at me. As I lifted the phone to my ear after calling, only then did the kids start walking down our street. I met my neighbor under the lamp once he was out there, but the kids were nowhere to be seen. End quote. Okay, what the French toast, guys? I don't know. Sounds creepy, and it also sounds like nobody else in the neighborhood got a visit from them, right? I mean, the neighbor didn't even see them. So this is another kind of thing that always seems to happen with them, where the minute you take your eyes off them, if they're not creepily staring at you from somewhere on your property, they're gone. Our next encounter is from a young man who said it was just a day or two before Halloween when he decided to walk 3 blocks to the corner store to grab something. A completely boring, ordinary, and somewhat mundane event. He said of what happened next, quote, "During my walk, I see the normal, the occasional person putting up Halloween decorations and kids playing in their yards, but this story is about something far more sinister. I remember seeing 2 teens about age 14 knocking on a door asking to use the phone, which of course I thought was weird because most teens these days have their own phones. As I kept walking, they stopped and stared at me for a short moment. I felt the blood in my veins chill. I felt so creeped out, I hurried to the next block. The next block seemed fine until I looked behind me and saw the 2 teens seemed to be following me. I took off sprinting to the store at this point. I saw the sign for the store and relief washed over me. I opened the door and I told the cashier about what had happened on the way there. He looked at me slightly creeped out and told me a story about this happening to him in his hometown and how they found him the day he left and asked for his help in an emotionless voice, and he told me to never agree to help these kids. He told me another story, but at that point I was no longer paying attention because those kids were standing at the door asking to be let in. The cashier freaked out and locked the door. The teens never seemed to waver or leave. They wouldn't step away from the door. Then it had been an hour. The cashier and I were ready to fight our way out, but instead he took me out the back. The one teen came around back just as the door shut behind us. "Can you help me?" is all he could say. He was closing in on us, in his eyes. They were black as a starless night. They were peering right into my soul. I couldn't help but gaze into his eyes. The terror. I can't remember too much of what happened next, but I do recall the sounds of struggle. When I came to, the cashier was struggling with both teens. He was calling out to me for help. I ran towards them, grabbed him by the collar, and pulled him between the 2, knocking them over in the process. I didn't look back until I was near my house. The cashier was gone, but the teens were still following behind. I ran into my house, closed all the blinds, and I turned the music up. I got lucky that day, but I'm not sure how long I can keep out of their grasp. I tried to find and thank the cashier for saving my life that day, but he didn't show up to work after that. I asked his boss, and he told me he called over the phone and quit. He said he was moving. To this very day, I sometimes feel the fear of those eyes watching me as I drive to work. I sometimes will look out my window and I swear I see them watching my house from a couple of blocks away, waiting for their next chance, end quote. So if you can't already tell, I had a hard time with this one. I really did, all right? This one just seems like, I don't know, it seems like a lot. And from what I can see in the comments below it in my source material, most people, not just me, are questioning the validity of this one. First of all, how are you seeing them from your door if they're a couple of blocks away? It's just very over dramatic. Like, the BEK don't normally follow people. Is it impossible and unheard of? No, but it's so unusual. And I tried to look for other encounters where it's alleged that this happened, and I really couldn't find any. I think I found one other one, and that one I didn't believe them either because they said they got into a knife fight with a BEK. Like, but these are the encounters, guys, and I'm not trying to change your minds. It's up to you if you believe them or not. I'm in no position to be calling anyone a liar or questioning the authenticity of an event that they claimed happened to them that was absolutely bone-chilling. There's always a chance the person is telling the truth, and having to be called a liar and ridiculed all over the internet probably wouldn't make things much easier or better for him if all of this really did happen to him as he claimed it happened. I would rather just believe and keep it in the back of my mind that, if this account is to be believed, they're becoming much bolder about their approach with us being human beings. So let's just assume that this is true. Then they're definitely becoming bolder if they're following us, right? More brazen, which is something I talked about with the Fae, with the Glimmer Man, and with several other entities that I feel like they're coming more to the surface, so to speak, in our more modern years. I would say like the past 10 years, but especially like the past 2 years. It seems almost like the pandemic. Since the pandemic, they're coming out of the woodwork, literally. Our final Halloween account is another one I saw on Reddit, and it also happened right before Halloween. In the middle of the night, one night, right before Halloween, our witness said she was awoken in the middle of the night to her dog Lucy incessantly and rather aggressively barking. So that's a general and common theme here too, that your pets, dogs and cats specifically, will go absolutely manic and crazy when they even sense that these entities or these children are near. At first, she didn't think too much of it, as this wouldn't be the first time Lucy had done this in the middle of the night. Side note real quick, guys, if your dog is behaving this way either once or even worse on a semi-regular basis, you may want to not ignore it, as remember, animals can see and hear and sense and smell things that we cannot. I would take this as a warning. Always be on the safe side, better safe than sorry, and at least get up to investigate. Personally, I would rather be wrong about it and have to get up out of bed than have my dog being possibly tormented by something in the night that I can't see or protect it from. But that's just me, and I'm a cat owner with no dog, so I don't know. Just a thought. Anyways, after several minutes of the barking, though, our witness claimed she got up and out of bed to see what in the world all of the fuss was about and to try and figure out what had her normally quiet and gentle dog behaving in this manner. Even though Lucy had done this before, it had never gone on for this long, and she was now starting to think maybe there was an intruder or something else sinister lurking in or around her home. She quickly noticed that the dog was at the front door barking like this at it, and she almost mechanically went to unlock the deadbolt so she could open the door and show the dog there was nothing there. As soon as her hand touched the lock, the dog flipped out. Lucy launched herself at our witness and then ran into a corner of the room to cower in fear. Almost immediately and seemingly out of nowhere, Lucy lunged at her. She was overcome with a sudden and inexplicable fear unlike anything she had ever felt before, being our witness. It was almost incapacitating. Her heart was racing and her knees were suddenly weak. She was sweating and shaking instead of what happened next. Quote, "I looked through the peephole. I can't explain why I looked, but I did. Outside were two kids. One was just a smidgen shorter than me and didn't look much younger. I'm 21 and she looked to be 16 or 17. She was slender and super pale. Her hair was a light shade of honey blonde, and she wore it long, about mid-back, with long, thin, blunt bangs in the front that covered most of her eyes. She wore jeans, a light wash that's popular right now, and a thin-looking olive-covered pullover-style hoodie. She held the hand of a small girl who looked to be around 3 or 4 in the same style jeans and button-down ivory cardigan." It's very specific on the clothing there. The smaller one looked at the floor shyly, but had that same shade of hair tied back in a ponytail. She held a stuffed toy under her free arm, and it was identical to one my daughter has, as was their style of dress. Had it not been for the feeling of overwhelming dread and fear, I probably would have asked these children in and giving them some tea or hot chocolate to get them out of the bitter cold. But something about them seemed off. At this point, I hadn't made any noise, I hadn't shushed the dog or grumbled, nothing. I hadn't turned on any lights. These kids had no indicators I was at the door. The older one spoke. She had a voice that was mature, confident, strong, and accentless. She held her head tilted downward and I couldn't see her eyes. She said, "We have to use your phone." I stood frozen in fear. How did she know I was there? She raised her head to face me directly, and that was when I saw her eyes. There was a reason I couldn't see them through her bangs before. They were black or midnight blue or dark, dark purple. They were otherworldly. She said, "Our mother is worried." As someone who's always been interested in creepy stories, I knew what she was the second she looked at me through the door. I've never been one to believe in these things. As a staunch atheist and skeptic when it comes to the paranormal, I had written off many a ghost story from friends and family members eager to tell their tales. I didn't believe them. Still, I couldn't rationalize my way out of this. I was standing with nothing but a thin wooden door between me and a black-eyed kid. There was no questioning what was right in front of me. I did not answer her. Slowly and silently, I backed away from the door, Lucy still cowering at my ankles. She just kept right on talking. "Just let us in to use your phone." I took another step back, and with that step, the tone changed. At first, she seemed polite. When I took that second step back, she became commanding, almost hostile. "We're not going to hurt you. If we wanted to do that, we would have broken in. So I'll ask again, may we come in and use your phone?" Lucy snarled at the door, and I inched backward, though something inside of me seemed to be slowly pulling me back toward the door. It wasn't a physical pulling so much as a subconscious need to go back and need to let them in. I got to my room, covered up the window, locked the door, and sat there in the dim light of the nightlight. I heard her call me back to the door once more, and then quiet. I didn't go back to sleep that night, and I haven't slept right since. I know from reading about them that BEKs can't just come in without permission. I know they haven't hurt anyone, but I still fear I'll be the exception. When I told my husband, he said it was just a dream. He keeps telling me to forget it, but this lingering feeling of sadness, this dread when the house is silent at night, this fear of a knock at the door, this tells me otherwise, end quote. I want to talk about the fact that she said that we know they haven't hurt anybody. We don't know that. Because if they had hurt someone, maybe they hurt that person to the point where they can't tell their story. Like I said, I'm skeptical of all of the encounters where they're said to have been let in. The older couple that gave them hot chocolate and then the guy's nose was bleeding. I don't believe that encounter. I know it's the most widely accepted one for someone who's let the BEK in, but I'm not a believer of that one. Could have happened. I'm not saying it didn't happen. I'm just saying I don't really put much stock into it. I believe the one with the mother who ran into the grocery store, came back out, and the BEK was sitting next to her son inside their truck. And that's in one of my other videos, I think part 2, but I will link all of them down below. So what exactly are these entities, guys, and what do they want? Where do they come from, and how do they get here? These are the questions that have been pondered for as long as they have been being seen, and even more so since Brian Bethel's account took the internet by storm in 1999. They are many different things to many different people. The theories that come up most often are that they are demons, ghosts, hybrids, extraterrestrials, the children of the men in black and women in black, vampires, visitors from another dimension or alternate reality, and many, many more, again, depending on who you're asking. What I do know, and I said the same thing about shadow beings, is I dread to even know what sort of realm or dimension is overrun by these particular creatures, entities, beings, etc. I am from the alien hybrid school for the most part. Are they lost souls or some other thing we can't even begin to wrap our human minds around, let alone come to understand in any way, shape, or form? Whatever they are, they don't seem to be going anywhere, and the legends and rumors about them seem to increase as the years go by. At first, it seemed like a very American phenomenon, at least on the surface. However, if you dig just a little bit deeper, you'll quickly come to find that that isn't true at all, and not by a long shot either. I don't posit the question as most people I come across do, as if, are they real or not, right? I know that they're real. I just know it to be true. There are too many encounters from all over the world of the exact same thing, and many from so long before the internet existed, it can't be some sort of giant coincidence. So what do you guys think? As always, let me know in the comments below. That's all I have for you today, guys. Please give this video a big thumbs up if you enjoyed hanging out with me, if you enjoyed the content, and if you just want to see me smile. Spread the love by sharing this video, and please subscribe if you haven't already. Really want to get that sub count up, guys. So in the description box, you will find links to the other BEK videos I did, including Steve Stockton's BEK encounter, which I think he just covered himself on either Missing Persons Mysteries or 13 Past Midnight. But I was the first one to cover it. He gave me his permission. I will link all of them again in the description box below. If you'd like to make a donation to the channel, always appreciated. PayPal, Cash App. If you join my Patreon for $20 a month or more, you will be put on my list. I give automatic, full, remote, personal intuitive oracle readings to all of my patrons who donate $20 or more every single month, okay? Join me and Ghostdragonzw every Wednesday night from 7:15 to 11:15, 11:30ish p.m. Eastern Time for live intuitive oracle. You come on into the stream, I pull one card and I give you a weekly reading off that card for donation only. It's a really great time. It's lots of fun. Sometimes we go over 4 hours. It really depends how many people come in. Also, if you'd like to purchase my books, Missing the Fae Theory and Encounters with Evil, 101 True and Terrifying Stories, the links for those on Amazon, paperback, and Kindle will be in the description box. If you would like signed copies, please hit me up, GemmaJadeParanormal@gmail.com. I had my book signing last week. It was a great success, but I do have some leftover books that I'm trying to get rid of. So hit me up if you want that autographed copy, and for any and all other correspondence, if you have any encounters with the supernatural, paranormal,
okay, I'm going to stop this now,
etc. Also email those to me for listeners.
Stop sharing. Go back. And there we go. Let me go small here. There we go. Put this back up. More room. There we go. Everything's tiny now. So how's everybody doing? But yeah, let's say he saved me from my depression. Yeah, animals tend to do that. You know, Puff always seems to know when we're sad here, and he comes along and kind of cuddles up or knows when we're not feeling it. He definitely knows when Pop's not feeling good because he comes and cuddles up with Pop or hangs out with Pop. A bit of ring light, yeah. She filmed that while I was there. Like I said, while I was there for her book signing 2 years ago. It's hard to believe I'd been there so many times, but yeah, that was the first time I went out to see her. Went, saw the book signing. We did the Halloween party. I took her to her doctor's. And then I went out, I think again, Christmas, or right after Thanksgiving. That was right after Thanksgiving. Around Thanksgiving. Yeah, he's always by my side. Yeah, they know. They know. And they know you know, too. That's like Puff. We're getting a little concerned. His nails are really thick on his toes. And I don't like cutting them because it splinters them. And that's why dogs cringe when you cut their toenails, is because they shatter. People don't realize that. Even grinding them, if you don't use the right kind of grinder, that grinder can, if you're pressing too hard, can shatter that nail, and that causes a paw. And that's why they pull away. So, but he's got this one nail, and his are real big and real thick for a little guy. And if you grind them down, you got to go real slow, and it just takes forever because you don't want to shatter it or cause any pain. Problem is, they're real thick. Well, he chews on this one toe all the time. Well, we realized that he chews the toenail off. And we found him the other day in there, and he had a little bit of blood, and he was kind of limping. I went down, and as soon as Buddy held up his paw, I go, he lost another nail again. And it's the same one. That poor guy, I don't know why he does that. He chews his tail too, and we can't break it. Yeah, I do, but you got to watch doing that too, because like I said, if they're just cutting them, I don't know. Do you stay and watch them do it? You should stay one day and watch them do it if you don't. Because when the dog fights to get snails cut, it's because it hurts. Got a doggy diamond wheel for, yes. I've not tried it yet. Just remember, Latro, go slow and easy. Slow and easy. Don't put a lot of pressure on it. Let the grinder do the job. If it's really loud, he may not like it. That's the other thing. Because, to them, those noises, that grinding noise kind of sounds like a higher pitch vacuum. So, yeah. But I learned that the other day, and it was like, oh, my God. But, yeah, we don't know if he chews it off, but it grows really weird anyways. It's like the one odd nail in his whole paw. And we don't know if he keeps breaking it and he'll catch it on something. But, man, yeah, his nails, like, for this little dog, his nails, they're thick and they're chunky. But his paws are chunky. You look at his paw and you think he'd be a bigger dog. Carlos has lost most of his teeth. I think he's at least 2 left. Really? Puff is getting there. He's 9 now, and he's done really good. But like I said, he chews his tail on that one toe on his right foot. Excuse me. See, that's when I went and got my dog, was the diamond wheel. It does really good, but just watch pressing. As soon as you start pressing on that wheel against their toenail, you can see them wrench. So it's just slow and easy, and it does take a little bit of time. But once you get a system going, it goes fairly fast. Yeah, I would watch them grind them, or ask at least to see what kind of grinder they're using. Some of those grinders use like a sandpaper, and those I do not suggest at all. Do not let them use that on your dog. And if they use tweezers, I would have them stop. But a lot of these pet groomers now use the grinders, and they're usually pretty high grade. Problem is, you just got to watch how they do it. Like I said, if they press down, try to make it go faster by pressing harder. It's like I tell people, when you use a scrub brush, you don't bear down on the brush. You let the bristles do the work. His pups are 9, 10, and 8. Oh, wow. Yeah, I'd be honest. Pup is a parvo survivor, too. And they said if a dog survives parvo, they're never the same. He's an interesting dog, but he's a good dog. But I'll tell you what, that pit bull in him shows sometimes, man. And It's like watching this beagle turn into a pit bull. And he does look like a beagle or cross. But his mama was a full-blooded pit bull. He is the goofiest thing, though. He waddles when he runs because he's got the front legs are all bowed like a pit's, all muscular. So when he runs, he flops. Big old Pop tends to put a little extra weight on because of Pops. Him and his munching buddy. Oh, if they don't mind having it done, then that's good. Then you shouldn't have a problem. Usually you could tell if your dog comes home happy and not upset or a little edgy when you pick them up, you know it's all good. So you have a good groomer. That's the way to go. But yeah, I would always suggest people when you go get your dog pet, I'd take her to a groomer, at least watch them. And if you can't stay, see what they're using on them. Yeah, I saw that. Sydney in your Facebook. I think they're cute. We used to have a little dog before well, he had my brother Kevin when he lived here. He had a Rottweiler. And him and my dad and mom were like the best of buds. He was more mom's dog than dad's. But it's sad. We bring a dog in here and they become that automatically really Puff. As soon as he walked in the store, knew he was dad's dog. He just jobs as master, and Pop is the Pop. He's the king of the house. But yeah, I love those pictures. But our little dog Mitzi, the family dog I had growing up, was one of those Toy Man Chesters. And it looked like a Chihuahua, but that's not what it was. I'll tell you what, she was a spunky little thing. And she was definitely my mom's dog. I don't hold. That's good, though. That's awesome. If they're that good with it, I wouldn't worry about it. I've seen some video. People quietly coming back and watching their dogs getting groomed without them knowing, filming it. And I've seen some pretty harsh treatments. So, yeah, that's why I always say you always want to make sure. But if it's that good for you, then you've got a good groom. Oh yeah, for sure. They must be comfortable with the people. That's good. See, now I have to do Puffs. We never really broke him in. He doesn't like big dogs. He's a little dog, so he's got that complex. Kid vicious is what I call it. Kid vicious. Yeah. Oh man, you watch how you approach Pop, because I'll tell you what, you want to see Pop's dark side. Put your Pop, and we do this in front of Pop, and that dog was in front of you, ready to go. Don't you mess with that old man. I like that name, Carlos. Now, we had a dog named when I think it was Ashley or Sammy's birthday. My ex's Tina sister gave us a dog. It turned out to be, it was supposed to be a husky. And then I found out later that it was a hybrid. It was a husky and a coyote. And this dog was crazy. But he had one blue eye and one brown eye. And we called him Blue. And man, that dog loved to run. Man, if he got off his chain, he was gone. So we ended up having to give him to friends of my son's. And they took him down to Florida. Had a bunch of land, I guess. And he was happy as can be. Ended up mating and having a bunch of pups. But he was a beautiful dog. Just, man, he definitely liked to run. And he was strong, too. He broke like 2 chains. Like I even tried to fence in the yard, jump it. That's how all of them are. We meant doesn't matter who it is. Doesn't matter who it is. It's been a quiet week. I've only had about an average 3 people on here, so, which is fine. Things are changing. I get it. It's good to see. I'm glad you guys came and hung out with me. Because I'll probably call it here now. I figured about an hour. I want you guys to have a good weekend. Thank you for hanging out with me, Cindy and Latro. Cowie, if you see me or if you see this again, make sure you, I'm just letting you know, thanks for stopping in. You can still reach out to Gemma. She still uploads on Tuesdays. And we'll be here, I think, next Friday. Thank you, Chris, for stopping in. I'm just making sure I didn't miss anybody. I don't think I did. Let me get back down to the bottom here. Jake, my youngest, I call him Demon C. Actually, Giles was the good one. Sammy was my rock, and Ashley was my mom. Ashley is my mom to the T. And Sammy, she's more of a rock than she gives herself credit. And Giles is Giles. He's a lot like his mom. So I don't even know how to call these kids. I am too, Cindy. And I'll be back here Wednesday. I should be here Wednesday unless something comes up. I've just been playing it by ear because the views have been so low, which I understand. These are pretty casual. There's a lot going on. A lot of things. A lot of people have been divided. So I get it. I'm still going to show up, hang out for a while. Whoever comes in, I'm just glad I got to see you. Everybody have a wonderful night. Cindy, you be safe out there. Hopefully I'll see you Wednesday night. If not, you just keep in touch. Yell for me. You know, you can yell for me on Messenger. If I don't answer right away, it's just when I'm with Pop, when I'm not around. So, all right. I love you guys. Yeah, I've been it's been crazy. I know how it is, Cindy. Tomorrow's going to be, I don't think, tomorrow we're supposed to take off for a little bit in the morning. We'll see if it happens. We've been playing it by ear with him. But he's been wanting to get out, so we may take a drive for a while. Get him out. But have a wonderful Sunday. Yell anytime. Now she does, I believe, have an upload coming Tuesday between 10 and 10:15. And much love to you too. And Latro, you guys, everybody have a wonderful night. Those who watch the replay, thanks. I appreciate it. Make sure you leave a thumb up. Much love to you all. Night, Cindy. You take care of yourself, okay, hon? And I'll see you guys on the flip side. Just take care of yourselves.